Welcome into ATL Day Ones with Jarvis and Tenitra. Coming up on today's show, we've been talking about it, we've been teasing it, but the ATL Day Ones mock draft 3.0, 1.0, 2.0, whatever you want to call it, is finally here.
And it's go time in Beantown, but can the Hawks get it going without the number 2?
And last but not least, and for the culture, you guys gave me your most ridiculous prediction for tonight's Hawks matchup. We'll talk about it in For the Culture. That's all coming up next right here on ATL Day Ones. Let's go, baby.
This is ATL Day Ones, part of Locked On Sports Atlanta. And it starts now.
I want to start by saying thank you for making ATL Day Ones your first listen of the day. Remember, we are free and available wherever you download your podcast. And wherever you download your podcast, make sure that you leave us a 5-star review. Really appreciate that from you in advance. Today's episode of ATL Day Ones is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. Make every moment more. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon today to get started. And it's ATL Day One's part of Locked On Sports Network, your team every day. T, it is finally here. It's the week of the NFL draft. I saw you and Jamie got the week started off right, talking about what's going on with the Atlanta Falcons and in the news of Casey Hayward getting cut and what the implication they may have on the draft come Thursday. And I think that when you think about all of the things that, people, the predictions and everything like that, I know for me, I'm glad we're here, and I know you're glad we're here as well. But I think that when you think about these 7th-round picks, right? We're gonna start off with a 7th-round pick, and I want you to go knock yours out, and then I'll kind of go into mine and why I chose what I chose. But when you think about these late-round picks, T, like I think at this point you got to find some value. So who is the first person that's coming off the board for you in the 7th round?
I think for me, it's probably going with what I'm hoping will happen, right? Because for me to pick on the offensive side of the ball, particularly at a position, that means that at the end of the day, I must be saying that, hey, the Falcons win defense.
Right.
Draft, right.
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah.
I was the same.
Exactly. So that is the implication that I'm giving when I say that, hey, I'd be good to go if they went with someone like a wide receiver, maybe like a Matt Landers out of Arkansas, because It's always good when you got yourself a guy who is SEC, because you always feel like no matter what part of the SEC that player comes out of, he is game ready. He's NFL ready, if you will. So again, that's my pick with that last pick of the draft for the Falcons this year. Should they even keep that 7th pick, by the way, because I wouldn't be shocked if they just kind of packaged it and moved it on. And of course, we'll talk about that a little bit more tomorrow and even Thursday on what packaging might look like for the Falcons if they so choose it. But yeah, would definitely not mind if they go ahead and shore that up, especially, of course, with the most recent departure of Olamide Zaccheaus.
Absolutely. I like that pick. And Matt Landers, who used to be at Georgia, so guy has a lot of size, so he fits the treetop model for wide receivers for Arthur Smith. But so I'm going to go in a little different direction, right? I am defensive heavy in this draft, so I tried to find some value. So I went with the linebacker out of Georgia Tech, Charlie Thomas. He was a guy who was one of the 4 starters who left this year for Georgia Tech who are eligible. And I think Charlie Thomas was a playmaker last year. And I think he's a guy that you can get some value, find some value in getting in on the special teams. One thing that I used to always I joke with Dan Quinn about as far as like, hey, man, only way most of the time guys like this are going to make their team is through special teams. And I think Charlie Thomas kind of fits that mold as far as a guy who can come in, humble, ready to work, and just run down on kickoff, or whether it be on kick return or whatever, and just go out there and make tackles. And I think he's a guy that you can find some value in. Now, as far as your second 7th round pick, T, who are you going with?
Yeah, it's interesting because if our ATL Day Oneers are really everydayers, then they'll know that a couple times last year for that mock draft in 2022, Jarvis and I had some picks that were similar. No different here because Charlie was my pick at the 224th pick
Right,
in the
exactly.
7th round. So yeah, I'm just gonna co-sign right with you there on Charlie Thomas.
All right, cool. So, all right, my second 7th round pick, I'm gonna stay on the defensive side of the football. Right, we know that the Falcons have brought in some guys, from some safeties. I think Jamie Johnson was one of the guys that they brought in for a visit. So we know that they have their eyes on the safety spot. Right now, I feel like they pretty much set at that spot. But hey, you never know what Ryan Nielsen may be up to as far as the type of schemes that he wants to run. So he may want to go big nickel. So you're going to need extra safeties for that. So my second 7th round pick, T, I'm going with Anthony Johnson Jr., the safety out of Iowa State. The guy, he's a rangy guy. He's a guy that, you can find some value. Like you said, he's a guy that can come in and make the club on the special teams because that's what you need when you find out in these late round guys. So I think that, the Falcons will be, need to listen to us and follow our mock draft as we go along here. So I'm going with the safety out of Iowa State, Anthony Johnson. Now, T, we're starting to move into the realm of in the 4th round as far as making sure that these guys might not necessarily be solely special teams guys, but these guys might be some guys that can contribute from a rotational standpoint, or whether it be offensive, defense. So who you going with the second 4th round pick for the Falcons?
So interestingly enough, so you're saying like the Falcons are good to go, right, at the DB, but then when you look at their depth chart, you just kind of see Jalen Hawkins sitting at the safety by himself. So right. I'm like, are they really okay? I don't know. And it's interesting because remember last year was one of the years, well, actually the year before, right, was one of the years where we started to see Isaiah Oliver kind of moved around to see where they could actually find value with him, where DMPs could find value. Obviously, they ended up finding the most value at the nickel, and now he's moved on to the 49ers because of it. So I thought this guy was an interesting pick. I saw him on a couple of mock drafts, and I was like, kind of like what we're working with, because, again, we've seen that value come in those later rounds, especially at some of these key positions that are maybe not, your wide receiver 1, if you will, or even maybe your DB1 or your DB2, but could be, to your point, providing depth and providing the opportunity for rotational. A guy like a Corey Trice, because he's played both ways. He's played safety, he's played corner. Now, granted, he did play corner the last couple. There it is. He did play corner the last couple of seasons at Purdue, but the fact that you could actually have him to have some experience, if you will, for lack of a better term, at that corner position could prove to be quite a sneaky good thing for Ryan Nielsen, because, again, it's kind of still moving parts other than AJ Terrell. Let's just be honest, because you know me, I'm not at all convinced that anybody else is. I don't know. Everybody else to me is a question mark, but AJ Terrell in the DB core. That's just my honest opinion, even down to Jalen Hawkins, just to be honest. And we don't know what Richie Grant's going to be when Richie Grant gets back, right? So I just feel like overall with a guy like him, because he can go both ways, could be an interesting and intriguing opportunity for Ryan Nielsen and company.
Absolutely. I actually like that pick because, like I said, when you talk about, what Ryan Nielsen talks about, Terry Fontenot believes in versatility and guys being able to plug in at different spots. And when we talking about a 4th round pick being a rotational / special teams guy, you have to be versatile. You have to be able to say, okay, we want you at corner this game, or we might need you at safety this game. So you got to be ready and willing to take that call when your number is called. All right, now, so like I'm super excited about this one, T, because I was out yesterday, so I was doing my research. I got a chance to do a lot of research. I was looking at some tape on Clemson, and Miles Murphy was my target, right? That's who I was checking out. But as I started going through this doggone film, T, Mr. KJ Henry, if he's sitting right there in the 4th round, oh my goodness! And I started to think about, okay, would the Falcons take this guy? And what kind of sold it for me was the fact that they signed Bud Dupree, because both of these guys are similar in size, right? Because, Ryan Nielsen coming from those big defensive ends, and, you can even say that by, who he worked with in the past, and Cam Jordan. And when they signed Calais Campbell, and Calais Campbell talking about him playing on the defensive end side of the football. And I think that But when they signed Bud Dupree, I was like, okay, they might be onto something with this one. So, yeah, I'm going with KJ Henry, the edge guy out of Clemson. And I think that if they get him, there would be some super, super value for the Atlanta Falcons and a guy who can come in and be, like I said, a special teams guy and come in on third and long and do some work. And, guys,
I like it because I'm not a big fan of I'm a big fan of wait and see for Bud Dupree. You all know I'm Steelers Nation, so yeah. And now don't get me wrong.
It's personal for you.
Yeah. But okay. I mean, okay.
So in other words, KJ, if you get drafted by the Falcons, you have a number one fan already. Absolutely. So we absolutely you guys make sure you guys continue to rock with us because we will continue our ATL Day Ones mock draft tomorrow, where we'll be going through the first fourth round pick and the third round pick as well. So make sure you guys stay tuned for that. But before we move on, we have to talk about the Atlanta Braves last night. Spencer Strider, it went down 13 strikeouts, ninth game with 9 or more strikeouts, breaking John Smoltz' record that he set back in 1997. When we say this guy is must-see TV, like, what else can we say about Spencer Strider at this point, T?
Oh, my goodness. Right. You can say that. And, okay, Matt Olson, I hate to throw you under the bus, but I'm going to throw you, ESPN, and our guy, Oren Romaine, under the bus. I'm
game. Come on.
Under the bus because, oh, my goodness, Spencer Strider could taste it. The Braves just could taste that they were going to get this no-hitter. And then all of a sudden, Gene Segura gets the single down the
And it had to be him, too. Of course it would be Gene Segura.
He's
little mother blanket.
The Braves a thorn in the side like Ronald Acuna Jr. is to the Marlins as a thorn in his side. And I want to just shout out Ronald Acuna Jr. as well with that. But, yeah, that's the only other superlative I could have said was we would have loved to have said Spencer Strider gets a no-hitter in his 25th Major League start. That would have been amazing. But still, to only give up one hit in 8 innings and to be able to go 8 innings, how amazing was it to see him in all of his glory? It's just, man, I hate to keep saying it, but we just found out that Colin McHugh has been activated off the IL. So, Jarvis, when we say embarrassment of riches at ATL Day Ones, or I'm sure you guys even hear it hit hard with John Chuckery, or even hear our guy Grant McCauley talk about it, it's because it's the truth. And Spencer Strider, it was on display. And then, Jarvis, you and I have talked about the woes that we saw in the Astros series, and even just a little bit before that in the bottom of the order and in those last couple of innings of a game. All of that was wiped away. And yeah, you can say I was the lowly Marlins. The Marlins came into the game 12-10. So they're not as lowly as they used to be. They still are. They're a better squad than we've seen them be in a couple years. And yet the Braves were able to reset in such dominant fashion last night. So yeah, you could give superlatives all over the place. Sam Hilliard with his multi-home run game, but also Ronald Acuna Jr. continuing to do things at the top of the order to set up the rest of the top of the order and all the way through to actually produce runs.
Yeah, and I love the fact that he's doing that. I love how you put set the table. And because, a lot of people think that, Ronald Acuna, eventually he's going to move into the cleanup. Nah. We want nephew right at the top of the order, right where he is, where he's comfortable, where he wants to be. And this dude is proving time and time again that he belongs there, because the days of those guys just being able to get on base and steal bases and all that stuff and not hit for power in that spot, those are gone. Like, those days are gone. And I think this is a new age leadoff hitter, and I think that the Braves are setting, like he's setting the table, and the Braves are, setting precedent as far as what that leadoff hitter should look like going forward. And I appreciate nephew for setting the tone as always. Now, T, as far as what's coming up next, though, we know the Hawks. It's going down tonight. How will it go down? Can they salvage the season? We'll talk about all that next. But first, we got to talk about FanDuel.com/LockedOn, because it is the number one sports book in America. You guys rock with us each and every day, Monday through Friday, because we are the number one podcast in your hearts, and we really appreciate that. So why don't you go ahead and join FanDuel.com/LockedOn, because guess what? They have the no sweat for first bet, which is up to $1,000 in sports bets back if your first bet doesn't win for all new customers. So All I got to do is just download the app right now, and it's safe, secure, it's super easy to use. You don't have to worry about anybody getting all your information. It is safe in the hands of FanDuel Sportsbook, and you can bet on anything from money line, spread, the total, all that stuff. Over-unders, threes drained. If you're trying to find out what the number is for John Collins, how many threes he's going to drain? Probably 0. So, I'll go to under. So we'll go ahead and do it just like that. Sorry, JC. I'm sorry, man. I just got it in my heart. I'm sorry. I'm going to have to get it out. But anyway, what you do. So here's what I want you guys to do. Outside of my acknowledging my foolishness, go get your no sweat first bet with $1,000 in bonus bets back when you go to FanDuel.com/lockedon. That's FanDuel.com/lockedon to learn more. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sports betting partner of Major League Baseball.
So, Jarvis, the Hawks, they have their backs up against the wall in Beantown. It is Game 5, an elimination game potentially for the Hawks. And the question becomes, can they get Game 5 without number 5? We found out late Monday that Dejounte Murray was suspended. He was given a 1-game suspension by the NBA for what they're calling verbally abusive behavior and contact with a referee, which happened at the end of Game 4 here in Atlanta on Sunday evening. Now, it's interesting because a lot of people are feeling some type of way about that because they feel like, okay, Jason Tatum having some pushback with the referees and nobody's going to give him as much as a fine, if you will. But again, that's that interesting ticky-tap type situation that you can debate until Jesus cracks the sky. And the bottom line is still Jason Tatum will take the court tonight. DJ will not. And
Absolutely.
Jarvis, if we look down the numbers, we always talk about, and Jamie and I talked about this Monday, with the Hawks, it's always a consistency question. With DJ, it's not. DJ has been the most consistent player in this series. Quinn Snyder talked about it at his press conference yesterday, how much they're going to miss the consistency, not just from this series, but really what DJ's meant to this team the entire season. And we're talking about a guy who literally was averaging across those first 4 games 25 points, 6 almost 7 rebounds, 6 almost 7 assists. So you're talking about somebody that who at any time was almost close to a double-double every single night. What in the world, in the absence of DJ, can the Hawks do to win and not come home unless they're coming back here to play a Game 6? How do they get that done?
Wow, Trae's going to have a bow-worthy Madison Square Garden type performance. That's the only way I see it even being possible. Like, we're going to need that guy. That guy is going to have to show up. And I don't necessarily know if you know what? Let me say this. Let me take that back. I believe Trae Young has that in him. It's just a matter of when he wants to tap into that or when he can tap into it.
Yes.
And I don't know if he'll be able to tap into it with this lineup that they're going up against, because we've talked about as this series has gone on, and we've seen how, out of 4 games, the Hawks have to be damn near perfect in order for this to even be a competitive game. So asking Trae to kind of have a performance where he's taking bows at half court and, giving him the kiss and all that, kiss of death and all that stuff, I don't know if he can necessarily do it, but I know that he can. He's capable of doing it. I know that he's capable of doing it and tapping into it, but it's going to be super, uber hard for him to do it against this team.
And you said something, you course corrected in the middle of your statement, and I said that's perfect because that's the right statement. Can he? Because we know it's in him. Can he? Will he be able to tap into that for 48 minutes? Because the other thing, Jamie laughed when I said it, because normally I don't use those words, and I said it afterwards. I was like, no, I didn't mean to get that strong because I don't call anything trash. But his first half play, if you looked at the numbers, Game 4, kind of trash.
Yeah.
Game 4, second half, however, Trae was anything but trash. It was transformative, right? But you got to get there for 48 minutes from him. Yeah. That's where you missed Dejounte Murray, because you got solid for 48 minutes pretty much for 4 games. And so, yes, I think the first step in potentially getting a win is for Trae Young to be consistent across as much of those 48 minutes as he can. But it's literally going to take every player stepping up big time. And some players have to step up 2 or 3 levels in order for them to get it done. Why do I say that? Because remember the beginning of the third quarter in Game 4, Clint Capella was looking like lights out on offense, right? Yeah. You're thinking to yourself, oh man, CC is about to take over. The Hawks have actually been either dominant or consistently right there with the C's and points in the paint. Okay, we're about to do something. He only ended the game with 10 points, right? The reason I state that is because he made a couple of those back-to-back baskets, dunks, whatever, and you thought he was going to take over. And then all of a sudden, 1 minute is Marcus Smart. The next minute, it's Robert Williams III. I mean, it's just anybody saying, oh, paint? Nah, we can't let you take over the paint. Somebody, anybody, we don't care. They'll take over. That's my part one. So Clint Capella, you've got to step it up. John Collins, you cannot. I don't care if it's 3, 6, 7, or 9. Nothing about you needs to be single digits, points wise. Nothing about you. In fact, I need you to go so deep to Mr. Double-Double that you almost look like LeBron getting his first 2020 stat line last night. That's what you need to almost do. I mean, literally, the Hawks are at that point. DeAndre Hunter, game 4 Dre for the Celtics and game 5 Dre from last year for the Heat, he better show up for 48 minutes tonight as well. Because again, and particularly Jarvis, not just on offense, that guy's got to show up on defense. Because one thing about the Celtics, they're going to find at least 2 or 3 guys who are going to penetrate on the perimeter and do their thing. So, I mean, Jarvis, we could go down the list.
Right, yeah.
Who and where and how. Sadiq Bey, we're going to need game 3 Sadiq to return. So that's the thing. If you can pull the best performances from every single player, Bogdan Bogdanović could get the start. We don't know. Quinn Snyder was kind of hinting at he doesn't know yet whether he's going to go kind of small ball in that space and go with a guard, or if he's going to go with a forward, or how he's going to pull that. But Jarvis, whomever it is who takes the space of Dejounte Murray, and I don't think it can be just one person. It's going to have to be a committee.
Combination.
There it is, that accommodates the loss of number 5.
And I like how you put it when you start, listening and going through folks, because it's going to take guys pulling from what they've already done in this series, which is playing their best basketball, and they're going to all have to put it together, and they're going to have to cook it up somehow. And Trae's going to have to be the master chef, right? And trying to pull from these guys, along with making sure that he establishes himself as a scorer as well, because that is going to be key. Because now, distributing the basketball, getting everybody involved, I get it, I understand it, but he's going to have to come out and make sure that his shot is going, make sure he's getting into the flow of the game, and implement the other guys as well as the game goes along, because he's going to have the ball in his hands a little bit more with Dejounte Murray being out of the picture, right? So those are some of the things I'm sure, and it's coming to you. You know what I'm about to say right here. That trap is coming. It is coming. At some point, it is going to come and try to get the ball out of your hands and basically make you look like you did against the Miami Heat last year, and see if you're going to be able to adjust. And I think that guys like DeAndre Hunter, they're going to have to step their game up and take care of the basketball. Guys like Bo, he's going to have to take care of the basketball and make sure he steps up and do what he needs to do. Stays in the game. Like, you're fouling out, dude. Come on, man. That should not happen at all. And here's a little X factor. Now, this is a guy who we really like on this show. Do we see AJ Griffin tonight, T?
We better. I mean, because and we're not talking about 5 minutes, right?
Yeah, no, I'm talking about like
we're talking about some
we need that shooting,
right? Right, exactly. Let him in the game and let the shooter shoot until the shots fall. Because at this point, Jarvis, I don't know if the Hawks have enough from a defensive perspective to be able to stop the Celtics, but if they can slow them down and ramp up their own offense, that's probably where they win the game. And so whomever gives you that offense, and maybe you do throw in, an Aaron Holiday here and there, right? To give you a little bit of defense on that second unit. I really get that. And you absolutely are going to have to play Jalen Johnson because of what he can give you at both ends as well. But ultimately speaking, I'm still kind of saying, okay, like, when are we going to see AJ again? Like, we really do need to see AJ. And another one kind of had an off game on Sunday, but I can't say that he's at an off series because Onyeka Okongwu has had some really quality minutes.
Solid. Yeah,
exactly. Mm-hmm. I love it. Solid is perfect. One more thing before we wrap up talking Hawks, and that's a point that you made about flow. There were times in the game on Sunday where there just wasn't any flow. The spacing just wasn't there. The movement of the ball just wasn't there. That's the kind of game you're going to have to play against the Celtics, because if you play hero ball or you try to just heave up a three, especially in the early moments or the early seconds of the shot clock. And we saw it. There was one particular play, Jarvis, where literally, and I apologize for forgetting which play it was, but I looked at the shot clock. 19 seconds were left on the shot clock, and a Hawk heaved up an ill-advised three. Yep. You want to know what the Celtics did? They took it back down the court. One time it was a three. Another time it was a dunk. Another time it was a chip shot of a two-pointer. Yep. These are the things
they went on the run. That's just how they do.
That's
how they do. That's how they do.
Just said
they punch back when you don't even punch.
You can't punch back because they're already 6-7 points ahead of you, saying, "Oh, we're already 6-7 points, 2-3 plays ahead of whatever it is that you're trying to counter with." We're already 2-3 steps ahead of you. So the Hawks have to do the same if we want to see a game 6 back here in Atlanta. Now, we're doing something cool and for the culture that Jarvis mentioned. And you know who is going to get shine today? The everydayers, the ATL Day Ones everydayers. We're going to shout you guys out in For the Culture because we want to let you know how much we appreciate you guys and we value your thoughts and opinions on all of your teams locally here. So we appreciate you always stopping by ATL Day Ones. And we can tell that you are telling other people because we're hearing good stuff from more and more of your family, your friends, and your colleagues whom you are telling to join the party. So thank you for always stopping by YouTube to check us out. We appreciate that. And of course, you downloading us wherever you download your podcast. Don't forget, everydayers, you're getting a shout out today. You're getting your shine on. So why not stick around for the party of parties for you?
We always appreciate our everydayers right here on ATL Day Ones, but this is For the Culture. It is the intersection between sports, entertainment, the culture, and sometimes whatever the hell we want to talk about, because that's just how we get down on this show. And today is no different when you think about the Atlanta Hawks getting ready to go against the Boston Celtics tonight. I talked about earlier on in the show about how Trae Young needs a Madison Square Garden type performance. He needs to be able to go out there and take a bow at half court and make sure that he drops points, gets his teammates involved, and make sure he does what he needs to do to get a win without Dejounte Murray being in the lineup. And I think that one of the things that kind of got me concerned was the fact that, Dejounte Murray being out, and then this kind of maybe thrust this team back into what they did or showed against the Miami Heat last year. And I think with Quinn Snyder being in place, I think it's going to be a situation where you want to see growth in this particular situation. Without Dejounte Murray being in that lineup, Quinn Snyder is going to have to make the necessary adjustments. Who does he put in there? Does he give A.J. Griffin some time? Does he understands that, hey, he tells Trae, you need to get yourself involved off the bat because you're going to have to figure out how to break this team down as the game goes along and be able to be consistent with it for 48 minutes. Now, I needed a little help, so I want to have a little fun with this. I reached out to the everydayers on Twitter, and they have responded, and YouTube as well. And we're going to start with my guy, DJ. DJ kind of feels like I do. He says that Trae dropping 60 points is imperative. He also says that John Collins will grab 15 rebounds. If John Collins grabs 15 rebounds, I would personally apologize on the show if he does that, because that's one of the things that John needs to do. I've always said that he needs to be able to bang and get rebounds and do what he needs to do as a power forward on this team. All right, DJ came with the ridiculous predictions. We appreciate you, DJ, for being an everydayer right here on ATL Day Ones. He talked about Trae Young dropping 60, Collins grabbing 15 rebounds. How about this? Trae Young, it seems to be a trend here with these. Now, Enlighten Pro on Twitter and everydayer as well, he said Trae Young gets game-winning dunk on Jaylen Brown. Now, when you think about Jaylen Brown being the defender that he is and the absolute dog that he is as a basketball player, it is hard for me to see that happening. However, I like how Enlighten Pro is thinking. It's about Trae Young making plays, making that necessary play, because it may be a three-pointer, it may be a layup, or it may be a pick-and-roll alley-oop dunk to Clint Capella. So all of those things I absolutely love. And we just got a few more that I have to get to because you guys really went all out when it comes to what I asked for. I love when people give me exactly what I asked for. Now, there was another one from Jimmy. Jimmy said that he was being a little petty. He said that John Collins goes 1 for 13, and that one play or that one shot that he makes is a dunk on someone, and he's going to have it a T-shirt made of that dunk and be selling those T-shirts by the fourth quarter. Now, that is some elaborate pettiness right there when you think about it, because how you guys know how much I kind of get on John Collins, and sometimes I feel like I can be a little bit too much, but yeah, Jimmy, yeah, man, you went all out on that one. So we thank you guys for our everydayers for responding and coming through for your boy on the most ridiculous predictions for tonight's game against the Boston Celtics. We also want to thank you guys, even if you aren't an everydayer, for making ATL Day Ones your first listen of the day. And remember, we are free and available wherever you download your podcast. It is ATL Day Ones, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And before we get out of here, people, you know how I get down. We do this each and every day. If you don't do anything for the rest of the day, make sure that you guys share love, show love, and most importantly, spread love.